December 23, 2025. Story 1. The Pentagon blew up another boat in the Pacific, killing one person, again providing no evidence of drugs. Representatives Raskin and Liu called on DOJ to investigate the September 2 attack, writing that targeting two men clinging to wreckage violates the Department of Defense's own Law of War manual. They wrote, "Outside of war, the killing of unarmed helpless men clinging to wreckage in open water is simply murder." Takeaway. When members of Congress cite the military's own manual to call strikes murder, that's building a legal record. Whether it leads anywhere depends on who controls DOJ, but the documentation exists. Story 2. Venezuela accused the U.S. of piracy after forces seized two tankers and pursued a third. Trump announced a new Trump class of battleships carrying nuclear cruise missiles, construction starting in the 2030s. The logo depicts Trump pumping his fist after the 2024 assassination attempt. Takeaway. Naming warship classes after sitting presidents while they're in office is institutional capture made permanent in steel. The nuclear cruise missile detail is the substantive military expansion. Story 3. At least two Palestinians killed Monday as Israeli forces fired on Gaza City. Gaza officials say Israel has violated the ceasefire at least 875 times. Israel continues blocking tents and blankets despite cold and rain. At least 3 children have frozen to death. A displaced mother describes staying up all night holding her twin girls under the only blanket they have. Takeaway. 875 violations documented. The blocking of blankets while children freeze is the policy producing its intended pressure. The number matters for any future accountability. Story 4. Defense Minister Katz vowed to build new settlements in northern Gaza, currently under military occupation, to replace those Israel evacuated in 2005. The Latin Patriarch of Jerusalem delivered a sermon in Gaza rejecting foreign-led reconstruction, saying it is we the people here who will decide how to rebuild. Takeaway. Settlement announcements during ceasefire negotiations tell you the long-term plan. When religious leaders with moral authority reject external reconstruction plans, that's a counterposition being staked publicly. Story 5. Nearly 50 House Democrats sent a letter urging Trump to hold Netanyahu accountable, calling for maximum diplomatic pressure including leveraging U.S. assistance. 17 senators urged Rubio to demand Israel allow press access. Israel's Supreme Court gave the government a 10th extension to respond to journalists' petition, deadline now January 4. The Knesset extended a law allowing closure of foreign media channels through 2027. Takeaway. January 4 is the next pressure point on press access. The media closure law extension tells you Israel is institutionalizing restrictions, not treating them as temporary. Story 6. Israel bombed a car near Sidon in Lebanon, killing 3 including a Lebanese soldier. Israel claimed they were Hezbollah. Lebanon denied it. The UN reports Israel has committed more than 10,000 violations of its Lebanon ceasefire in just over a year. Takeaway. 10,000 violations of a separate ceasefire. The pattern is consistent across agreements. Ceasefires with Israel function as pauses in international pressure, not operational constraints. Story 7. Denmark is summoning the U.S. ambassador after Trump's Greenland envoy vowed to make Greenland part of the U.S. Denmark's foreign minister called it completely unacceptable. Takeaway. Diplomatic summons is a formal escalation. Denmark is treating this as serious, not dismissible rhetoric. Story 8. Trump recalled nearly 30 ambassadors Monday, about half from African nations, all Biden nominees confirmed by the Senate to multi-year terms. A State Department official called it enforcing America first. Takeaway. Mass recall of confirmed ambassadors is unprecedented. The concentration in Africa tells you where relationships are being deprioritized. If you work in diplomacy or international development, this reshapes the landscape. Story 9. The administration paused all large offshore wind farm leases, citing national security, impacting 5 Atlantic projects including one in Virginia set to complete next year. Virginia has the largest concentration of data centers in the world, leading to soaring energy costs. This came days after Trump Jr.'s media company announced a $6 billion merger with a nuclear fusion firm. Takeaway. Pausing wind while the president's son merges with nuclear energy is the conflict operating openly. Virginia's data centers need power. Blocking one source while investing in another tells you who benefits from the gap. Story 10. A federal judge ruled ICE agents violated constitutional rights during a raid on a nutrition bar plant in upstate New York. Body cam footage showed masked agents entering a women's restroom and ordering a woman to pull up her pants and get out. 57 people were detained. The judge called the conduct grossly negligent. Takeaway. Body cam footage becoming evidence in court rulings creates precedent. The ruling matters, but so does whether anyone faces consequences. Watch for that. Story 11. A federal judge ruled Venezuelan men deported to El Salvador's Soco prison were denied due process under the Alien Enemies Act. Judge Boasberg gave the administration until January 5 to either facilitate their return or provide hearings. Takeaway: January 5 is a hard deadline with legal consequences. Courts requiring the return of deportees tests whether judicial orders have force. This is a direct confrontation between branches. Story 12. DOJ briefly published thousands more Epstein documents Monday, then removed them from the website around 8 p.m. without explanation. The documents showed Trump was a passenger on Epstein's jet at least 8 times between 1993 and 1996, with Ghislaine Maxwell present on at least 4 flights. An internal DOJ email from 2020 noted this was more than previously reported, during the period they would expect to charge in a Maxwell case. 18 survivors wrote a joint letter condemning the partial release and calling for congressional hearings. Takeaway: documents appearing then disappearing is the story. The flight log details are now public record regardless of website status, they were downloaded and reported. The 2020 email showing DOJ knew this during Trump's first term adds institutional knowledge to the timeline. Story 13. Larry Ellison, Oracle founder and father of Paramount CEO David Ellison, will personally guarantee $40 billion for Paramount's hostile bid for Warner Brothers after the board chose Netflix. CBS's 60 Minutes correspondent called the pulled Saco prison segment a political decision. Senator Markey wrote, "This is what government censorship looks like. Trump approved the Paramount merger and a few months later CBS kills a critical story." Separately, ByteDance signed a deal to sell TikTok's U.S. operations to a group led by Larry Ellison. Takeaway: one person is now positioned to control a major broadcast network, a major streaming acquisition, and TikTok's U.S. operations. The media consolidation is happening faster than the coverage of it. Ellison's name appearing across all 3 deals is the pattern. That's December 23.